Hello, bride-to-bees. My name is Lauren, and today I am talking to you about 5 different ways you can have a Zen wedding. Now, when I say a Zen wedding, I'm talking about having a wedding that is peaceful, that is memorable, where you are not stressed out and you look back on the event and you love it and you remember it. The problem today is that we find so many people that are brides. I mean, we have bridezillas, we have bridesmaidzillas, sometimes you have groomzillas, and there's people who they hate everything about the wedding day. They come in so stressed. They're so stressed they can't function, they can't eat. Everything seems to go wrong. Maybe you even had a wedding in the past that was like this, where everything seems to go wrong, nothing's working out, and you're just angry and it's a mess. And this happens a lot. I'm also a videographer myself, and I've shot a lot of weddings. I've filmed a lot of weddings, and I've had so many brides. Well, I should say I've had a good amount of brides that are just totally zenned out, totally enjoyed the day, didn't let anything bother them because they actively worked towards that, which is what we're going to talk about today. And then I've also had brides that everything was going wrong, and they made sure that everyone knew. It was like they just voiced that, oh, well, the candles aren't right, and I walked down the aisle wrong, and this was wrong, and the DJ messed everything up. And it's like they ruined the day for themselves, and they don't know how to let things go. And I think this comes from this pressure that our wedding has to be perfect. And, if you let that mindset kind of affect you up until the day of your wedding, then the wedding rolls around and you are just so stressed out and you can't let things go when shit happens, and shit will happen. And you have to accept that from day one. So today I'm going to be talking to you about those 5 tips of how to have a more Zen wedding. Let's talk about the first tip that I'm giving you guys. And I kind of already mentioned this, but the first tip is to remember that your wedding is not going to be perfect. And I know that sounds kind of like I'm not telling you that your wedding's not going to be good or it's not going to be fun, but you just need to go into your wedding with a mindset of everything's not going to be perfect, and that's okay. We have so many people that think that nothing bad is going to happen. And again, shit's going to happen, and you need to be able to deal with it as it comes up. And so one of the ways we can do this is, when something bad happens, let's pretend mom forgets the wedding rings or something, to not freak out. You need to let your emotions just roll over you and be like, you know what? That's okay. We're just going to move on and we're going to deal with it. Instead of letting it stress you out, having you stress everyone else out by freaking out and calling everyone up and being like, oh, you got to pick up this, you got to pick up that. It's better if we can just let those emotions roll off of us and just know that things aren't going to be perfect. And when you're prepared for things not being perfect, it's so much easier to deal with those moments when those come up. And again, the weddings that I filmed, I'm thinking of one in particular where the bride, her DJ, he played the wrong song for his first dance. It happens. He just pressed the wrong button, the iPod wasn't in the right spot, whatever. And she stood on the dance floor and she started yelling at him, and she kind of got visibly annoyed, and all of her guests were like, wow, she needs to calm down. It's not that big of a deal. And the better reaction would have been for her to just laugh it off. That's going to be the key thing for when shit goes wrong on your wedding day. Just laugh it off. If she would have just laughed it off and, just enjoyed the moment and, waited a few minutes for him to figure it out, things would have moved on. She would have not let it bother her. And that's the big thing, is we just can't let those little things bother you during the day, and you can't seek perfection. Otherwise, your expectations are super high, and it's just, your expectations just won't be met. So the more you can roll with those punches, the better. So the second tip I would say is definitely all about being present, being mindful. The more you can slow down the moments of the day, the more you're going to remember, the more you're going to enjoy things. And I think what happens is, we get into a mode of, we have our schedule and we're like, okay, I got to get my hair done next. I got to get my makeup done next. Okay, you get your dress. We got to get out the door, blah, blah, blah. And, one of my favorite tips about when you're feeling overwhelmed is if you want to what am I trying to say? You need to slow down in order to be more mindful and more in the moment. And I know that's going to be a little bit hard to kind of think about, well, how do I slow down if things are going so quick? And so practice this ahead of time. Learn how to slow down. Even though you're waiting for your hair or your makeup to get done, sit in that moment and appreciate where you're at in that moment and really just love where you're at. And the more we can slow down and be mindful of everything that's going on around us, the slower the day will feel. And, there's some people who come out of their weddings and they're just like, I don't remember anything. It was such a blur. It went by so fast. And if you want to avoid that, the second tip again is to definitely just slow down. Slow down, be in the moment, be present. And one of the fun tips and tricks that I learned with being present is called I don't know if it has a name, but I'm just kind of making it up. It's the bridal bouquet mindfulness exercise. So you have to carry around your bridal bouquet all day. And, set the intention ahead of time that anytime you look at your bouquet, okay, this is my visual reminder to slow down and take in the moment. Stop and smell the roses, kind of makes sense with the bridal bouquet. So, you're carrying that around all day. Every time you look at your bouquet, which is going to be a lot, it's going to be in your hand for quite a majority of the day or next to you on your dinner table. Every time you see it in your head, you go, oh yeah, okay, I need to slow down, enjoy the moment, take in the sounds, take in the sights, take in the smells, look at the people around you, and you'll find that because you're being mindful, you will slow down and the day will feel longer and you will feel a lot happier and you will be able to make decisions better. And again, you'll be able to let those emotions that we talked about roll off your back a lot easier. It's kind of like when sometimes we'll have those hours that seem to go by forever and they don't ever end. And then we seem to have hours in our lives that just go by like that. And it's all about where our mind was in that hour. Your mind in that 1 hour could just be all over the place and all over and stressed out. And then the hour is over super quick. Or, you could be really mindful and really cherish every single minute. And then, the hour feels a lot longer. So think about that going into your wedding day and how you can slow down and how you can be more present. So the third tip for how to have a more zen wedding, more chilled out wedding, something you'll enjoy more, is to release the idea of competition. In regards to your guests, you can't please everybody. And I think this is where we kind of stress ourselves out as the planners of the party, is we're so concerned about our guests and what they're eating and what they're doing and what they're seeing. And you get into your mind, those people, them in your mind who you're like, they're going to sit and they're going to judge my food and they're going to hate the dancing and they're going to hate the music. But the thing is, and I will tell you this right now, you cannot please everyone, and that is okay. There are always going to be critics, and there's going to be people that don't like the food. There's going to be people that don't like the music, but that doesn't matter. It shouldn't matter. It is about you and your day. And when I say your day, I also mean your partner. This is about the both of you. And the less you can worry about pleasing others, the easier things will flow. And I mean, obviously, don't throw everything out of the window and just not care about your guests at all. During the planning phase, make sure they have food, make sure that they have the things they need, like a bathroom, and, do make sure that you're taking care of them and thinking about, okay, how can I make it enjoyable for them? But, don't go overboard with it. At the end of the day, it is about you and your decisions. And again, comparing yourself to anybody else's wedding or trying to impress people or just trying to make everyone happy it's unattainable. It's kind of a fantasy. I mean, it would be great if we could all do that, but it's really hard. And at the end of the day, you don't want to be, think about it. You don't want to be during dinner sitting there and being like, oh, well, I hope Janet has this, or I hope Bob got his food and I hope he's happy. That day you need to be thinking about you. And I think that can be really hard. Sometimes we just forget that, oh, okay, we're here. The planning is over. I'm going to enjoy myself. And that's what's most important. Okay, so tip number 4 is that your partner is your priority. Now this goes for when you're wedding planning all the way up until the wedding day. I don't know why, but I really hate the fact that weddings are addressed as oh, it's the bride's day. It's the bride's day. It's your day. And as I'm coming up on my wedding, I always correct anyone that says that. I'm like, no, it's our day. This is about us. This is about our love for each other. And make sure your partner is involved. If it's your husband, if it's your wife, I should say soon to be wife or soon to be husband. It's important that they're involved in all the planning, and you need to make sure that they're happy. Otherwise, here, I'll tell you what happens if you don't. And again, I saw this happened with one of my friends. It was kind of like the wedding was all about her. She made all the decisions. She didn't ever really consult her fiance on what he wanted. And then come wedding day, the fiance he wasn't excited about things. He wasn't, really into all the things that she had picked out. And she was grumpy. She was like, why aren't you enjoying yourself more? She's kind of mad. And I think that one of the ways we can avoid this is taking in our partner's opinions ahead of time, so that we're making sure ahead of time, okay, do you have what you need to enjoy yourself too? It's not just about one of you, it's about both of you. And again, the day of, make sure that you're around each other that day. There's a lot of people to take care of, there's a lot of people to say hi to, but it's more important that you two are together and you are focusing on you, because that's what everyone else is focusing on. And the last thing you want is to be fighting on your wedding day. Okay, so the last tip that I have for you guys is number 5, and it's one of the things that I'm planning on doing, and it's basically just get all of your planning done about a week or 2 ahead of time. Make sure that you've got all the bills paid, everything figured out, and try to get all of your stuff done maybe a week or 2 ahead of time, ahead of the big day. And that's more so that you can unwind from the planning phase. If you are cramming, 2 days before your wedding, and if you're at home, freaking out about centerpieces and doing last minute do-it-yourselves, and you've got family in town that are like, hey, let's go hang out. It's just going to be super stressful. And then what happens is, if you don't give yourself that time to wind down before the wedding, you end up getting just super stressed, and it's really hard for you to get out of that planning phase. I mean, think about it when, like, for example, when you go on a trip, you get your house ready, you lock all the doors, you shut off the lights, and you're packing, and it's really stressful. You got to get out to the car on time. You've got to get to the airport on time. You got to make sure all these things are in place, and, you're kind of just in that mode of, okay, I got to do the next thing. And, if you're doing that with a wedding, okay, I'm doing the next thing, and then all of a sudden it's wedding day, you're just going to end up carrying that same energy over into your wedding of, oh, I got to do the next thing. Okay, next is cake, next is dancing, blah, blah, blah. And then the night's over and you haven't enjoyed any of it. Again, that's a lot of that being present, but if you can give yourself a week ahead to really get in the mindset of, okay, I've got a week till the wedding. I am going to focus on my partner this week. I'm going to focus on being present. I'm going to focus on being zen. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to make sure I'm taking time to take care of myself. Then you kind of slow down ahead of the wedding. And then you kind of get into that peaceful zone, so that when the wedding does come around, you definitely know what you're doing. And I think that those 5 tips are going to be super helpful in just slowing down the wedding, enjoying the moment, and not being a bridezilla. Because nobody likes the bridezilla. That's the other thing is, you know, we don't think about how our actions are perceived, but you have to think everybody's eyes are on you that day. And if you're freaking out and if you're a ball of stress and you've got photos and you've got pictures, you know, it's going to show. And I did photos for a couple once, and they came in from out of town. I'm also a photographer, and I did their wedding photos. And they were so, they had this same thing of like they were fighting all day. I think it was just the stress of the wedding had gotten to them. And you could tell. And I was taking pictures, and a lot of times their faces were grumpy, you know, just the candid shots, not the posed ones. And, you know, I sent them the photos after the wedding, and they were kind of like, hey, don't you have more of a smiling? And, you know, I kind of had to be like, no, you guys weren't happy. You know, obviously I was nice about it, but, you know, you don't want to have that experience after the fact. You want to make sure that you're happy and your guests see you happy, and then they're going to be happy. And that's really what it's all about, is you enjoying yourself and remembering the day, slowing down the day, savoring the day. Awesome, guys. I would like to know, what do you guys do to have a Zen wedding, or what do you do to prepare to kind of get yourself in that mode? If you're a bride-to-be, leave me a comment. I'm really interested. You know, what do you know, if you've already been a bride, what did you do to slow down the day and be more in the moment? Or did you have a really bad experience? Or do you know of somebody that has a really bad experience? I think, unfortunately, I have more people that I know of that had bad experiences with their wedding and just kind of let everything fall to pieces. And I'm interested to hear your guys' comments, so definitely leave those in the comment section below. Like this video if you liked it, dislike it if you don't, and go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel for more updates and more videos on all things relationships.